Welcome guys back to the channel. This Mazda CX5 came for carbon cleaning, which is quite usual. However, it has one fault code stored which I didn't see before. So now let me jump into the cabin and scan the car for the codes and show you what I found, what is wrong with the car. But before that, if you want to buy a scan tool, which I recommend is the X-Tool brand, link in the description. Use the code Mr. Nice Guy 94. You will get discount whatever buy you from the website. So the owner reached out to me that the car has one fault code, which to be honest I didn't see before. He wanted the carbon cleaning done at the same time, so he booked in with us to bring the car and get the carbon cleaning done and sort out that fault code as well. However, by the time he got here, there are 3 fault codes stored in the engine ECU. So now let me switch the camera and show you guys which are those. Let's check what the fault codes are. So the owner said that he has the P2227 fault code, which indicates something is wrong with the barometric pressure sensor. However, he didn't mention, or he wasn't aware, that he has the P0471 fault code stored as well. And you can also notice there is another fault code stored, which is a P0108. That was caused by me, and let me tell you the reason. So that fault code, the first one, was triggered by me, and the reason for that, because we don't want just to replace parts left and right, and I was not sure which sensor was that. I had the guess, and my guess was good. I guessed that it was the map sensor. So what I've done, I've disconnected the map sensor, and I was curious if it throws or triggers a fault code, which it did. So now I know that that barometric pressure sensor is the map sensor as well. And now let me switch back the camera and talk you about those fault codes specifically. So if you have a look at the first one, it is complaining about the circuit being high. So usually it means there is either a crack in the cabling, or the sensor is disconnected, or some sort of those fault codes, which I know the sensor is disconnected because I intentionally disconnected it. However, if you have a look at the other fault code, the 2227, the description is range/performance. So why I'm not that worried about it at the moment, because the car came for carbon cleaning anyways, and usually that sensor gets very dirty. So if we're going to clean it, perform or carry out the carbon cleaning, take it for a test drive, and if that fault code comes back, then yes, I may replace the map sensor. But before that, I won't be just replacing parts at the expense of the customer. And the other one, the P0471, is related to the exhaust pressure sensor. So now let me turn on the car, guys, and show you the live data values, and again explain them a little bit as well. The engine is running, and I've already scanned or checked the live data. Oil pressure is fine, and I got the car even up to the operating temps of engine oil, so even about 80 degrees of Celsius, and the oil pressure was fine. Although I must mention, it can be confirmed only if, let's say, the sump is dropped and check the strainer for blockage, or by removing the valve cover, and we can have a guess what the things can look like in the oil sump. If, let's say, the injector washers are blowing out, we recommend removing the sump and checking the strainer and replacing if needed. And if the cylinder head is cleaning, so the injector washers are not blowing out, it is okay. So also, like always, the visual inspection is the best. The live data is just like a helping point which we can rely on somewhat, not all the time or always. Is not always correct, but in this case the oil pressure seems to be fine even at higher engine oil temps. However, what doesn't seem to be fine is the exhaust pressure sensor values. That is around 50-55, which is half of what it should be. It should be 100 or between 100 and 105 kPa. So I'm going to recommend the replacement of the sensor to the owner. Now let me rev the car to 3000 RPM and see how the values behave, or how they change. They go up or they raise quickly and then falls back quickly. So I assume the pipe is not blocked underneath the sensor but if you're going to replace a sensor, we always check the pipe and make sure it is clean. Also, what is not so fine is the differential pressure values, but again, I will be worried about those numbers once we done all the repairs, and if they are still not within the specs, let's check further if we can see anything strange. Correction values, again, I will be worried about them if they are out of specs after the repairs and after the resets and relearning of the injectors. This one had the oil data reset 15,000 kilometers ago, which is around 10,000 miles. Again, I don't know if that was the interval or distance between the last oil change. It may be, because what Mazda does recommend is like 12,500 miles between the oil changes. We don't recommend that. We recommend it getting it done every 5,000-6,000 miles or a year, whichever comes first. And have a look at the accumulation of particulate matter. These numbers are quite close to getting the DPF region triggered, but however the DPF regions doesn't happen that frequently. Again, that number is not the best, but again, I will be worried about it after the repairs are done and all the resets are carried out as well, and taken the car being taken for a test drive. And now let me get out of the car and show you what I can see in the engine bay. As I could tell from the live data, if you have a closer look, guys, the exhaust pressure sensor is the old one. I will be recommending a replacement of it to the owner, and also I'm going to remove the intake manifold and the EGR parts for the carbon cleaning. The belt on this one seems to be okay. Valve cover very likely hasn't been removed, but other than that, the car seems, or the engine seems to be in good condition. So now let me get in touch with the customer and let him know what we found, and also then he's going to start working on the red CX5, which you may have seen already in another video, if that one will be published sooner than the video of this one. And behind me, Ben is removing the engine from this Mazda 6. I very likely will do a video about this one as well once the engine will be dropped, and let you know, guys, what is wrong with that one. I have removed the intake parts and the EGR parts from that grey Mazda CX5, and let's have a look how it looks before the carbon cleaning. It is there. I'm not saying the worst we've seen so far. I would say it's somewhat in the middle, but definitely needs getting it done. I think the car has around 60,000 on the clock. And let's have a look at the map sensor. So this is how I removed it, and to be honest, it doesn't seem to be that dirty. We've seen a lot dirtier ones. However, I am not sure since when it is in the intake manifold, because if you have a look, it is a Bosch map sensor. So what I guess is someone or the owner has already replaced this, because the Mazda OEM map sensor looks a bit different. There is also a Mazda logo on the map sensor, so maybe this is not the correct sensor. We will try first obviously getting the carbon cleaning done, cleaning the sensor, and then test the car if the fault code comes back or not. If it comes, it may be the actual sensor is not the good one and it needs replacement. Let me show you how the OEM sensor should look like on Dan's car, or on the car which is Dan working on. So here we are, guys. This is a Bosch sensor as well, but in the left corner you can see the Mazda logo, and if you have a look at the part number, this one is ending 319. And let's have a look at the other one. This is 318. Again, I'm not 100% sure if it is the correct or the wrong one, we will try make it work with this one. If it won't be working, then we will need to replace the sensor for the OEM one. Guys, don't get a Chinese knockoff from AliExpress, from wherever. Go with the OEM, because they will give you a lot more trouble. You won't even be able to see, because sometimes they don't even throw a fault code, they just mess up the whole car, the working of the whole car. So if you want to replace sensors on these 2.2s, please go with the OEM sensors, otherwise you will cause more pain in the long run for yourselves. I have removed the valve cover of this Mazda CX5 and have a look at it. It is immaculately clean and neither the camshaft is worn. So that's good news for the owner. The reason I removed it, because I'm going to replace the exhaust pressure sensor and make sure that the pipe is clean underneath. And if it's not, I'm going to use a blowtorch, heat the pipe up and blow everything out from that pipe. And also, just for a peace of mind for the owner as well, he can see how the engine looks like underneath the valve cover inside the cylinder head, which is very good. Like, it looks like the oil changes were done very on time, which is a good thing. So basically, I'm going to replace the injector washers with new ones, the valve cover gasket, the sensor, and then carbon cleaning can be done and everything can be put back together. And after that, we will see if there was an issue with the map sensor, if that's the correct one or if it wasn't the correct one. Then it's done the carbon cleaning on the gray CX5 as well. Let's have a look at the results. And let's see the valves. Let's have a look at another one. Yeah, so guys, basically that is how clean you can get the valves with the walnut blasting method. Now what's he going to do? He has already the parts prepared in the basket, so he's going to fit it back together. And again, I can take the car for a test drive and see if that map sensor, which is in the intake manifold, will need a replacement or it was just affected by the carbon buildup. I am back from the test drive in that Mazda Grey CX5. Now let me switch the camera, guys, and show you the light data values and then what I'm going to do. So as you can see, the engine oil pressure is perfect. It is nearly 200 kPa at idle when it is switched to that fail-safe mode. So basically now it is running on high oil temp, but I knew that before that this car has a good oil pressure, so I'm not that interested or bothered by that at the minute. Have a look at the exhaust pressure sensor values. Those are very good. And also if I press the throttle and then release it, the numbers will raise and then climb back fairly quickly. As I said, the next one is the differential pressure sensor values, which are again quite good. What I've done basically, guys, I've done a DPF data reset and I've done an injector data reset. So as you can see here, the data points or the values for the data points of the pilot learning of the injectors are zeroed. I'm going to do the pilot learning now in a minute with the help of a piece of a wire. Well, let me check further. I want to see the correction factors. As you can see, these are the correction factors before the pilot learning. And now let's have a look at the DPF data. So the car's done 6 kilometers after just the DPF region, and the accumulation is quite low, but I think after I do the pilot learning of the injectors, those numbers will improve as well. So now, guys, let me do that, and once I'm done with it, I'll show you the results. So I have initiated the pilot learning with the help of a piece of wire. So basically what I've done in the fuse box, I've jumped one pin to the negative terminal, and have a look what the car is doing. I'm not pressing the throttle, it is doing on its own. So it's raising the RPM and learning the pilot learning, or teaching the pilot learning for the injectors, and that's how you know it is doing, because the glow plug or the coil light is on. So I'm going to let it do its job, and then I'm going to check the live data on the scan tool again and report you back, guys. So the car is ready with the pilot learning, and let's have a look at the numbers. Differential pressure numbers, those improved as well. These data points now have values next to them, so they are not zero. Let's have a look at the correction factors. Huge improvement. And let's have a look at the DPF numbers. Again, those numbers improved a tiny bit as well. So for this Mazda CX5, the gray one, this was it. So basically this is successful. I'm going to check again the car one more time. Any leaks, fuel leaks, basically what we've touched during the repairs. But I consider this a success. So very likely the sensor, the map sensor, is not needed to be replaced. However, if it will throw a fault code in the future, then very likely it has to be replaced. But during my test drive, I've drove it like 15 miles. It didn't throw a fault code. The car was flawless. So I can let the owner know that the car is ready and hand it back to him. So thank you guys very much for watching, and see you soon in the very next video. Take care and bye bye.